Let's talk about something that drives so many entrepreneurs and business owners absolutely crazy. You're making great money, your business is thriving, but you get turned down for a mortgage. It's this bizarre paradox that keeps a lot of really successful people from getting the real estate they want.
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? You've got strong cash flow, you have real assets, your business is doing great. So how in the world does a bank look at your loan application and just say no? It feels like it makes no sense at all. And for a lot of people, it's a huge, frustrating roadblock.
Okay, so let's really dive into this because it's an incredibly common scenario. We're going to break down exactly why this happens and where the whole system just seems to disconnect from the reality of what it's like to be self-employed. Understanding the problem is really the first step to figuring out a way around it.
I love this analogy because it just perfectly nails the issue. The grain, that's your actual cash flow, right? Your real-world income, the success of your business. But the empty sacks? Well, that's what your tax return looks like after your accountant has done a fantastic job finding every possible deduction. See, to a traditional lender, all those smart deductions make your income look tiny even when your business is absolutely crushing it.
And this quote right here, this sums up the result perfectly. Financially qualified, but technically declined. It's just the perfect way to say it. You have the money, you have the assets, in every real-world sense of the word, you are qualified. But according to the bank's rigid, one-size-fits-all paperwork, you're a no. It's such a frustrating box to be stuck in.
So when you get right down to it, it's usually these three things. First, and this is the big one, you've got a smart tax strategy. As a business owner, you're supposed to use deductions to lower your tax bill, but that also lowers your income on paper. Second, your income might fluctuate. It's the nature of being an entrepreneur, right? But traditional loan models, they hate that. They want a steady, predictable paycheck. And finally, your business structure might be a little complex, which can make it really hard for a standard loan officer to see the real financial picture.
And what this all reveals is that we're really talking about two totally different philosophies. It's not that you're a bad borrower. It's that there are two worlds seeing your financial health through completely different lenses. Let's actually compare them side by side. Now, this is really interesting because it just lays out the two approaches so clearly. Over on the left, you've got your traditional banks. They are obsessed with W-2s and tax returns. It's all about standardized paperwork that fits neatly into their system. But then, on the right, you have alternative lenders. They're looking at what's actually happening in your bank accounts, your real cash flow, the strength of your assets, and for investors, how well the property itself actually performs. It's just a much more holistic, common-sense view. So, if the traditional tools just don't work for you, what's the answer? Well, it turns out there's this entire other toolbox out there, one that's designed specifically for this exact problem. It's filled with all sorts of different kinds of loans. Let's open it up and see what's inside.
Yeah, so instead of that one-size-fits-all mortgage, this toolbox has a whole suite of specialized options. We're talking about things like P&L-only programs that look at your business's profit and loss statement, or even no-doc loans that don't need all that traditional income paperwork. And for real estate investors, there's a really powerful one called the DSCR loan. Okay, let's just quickly break this one down, because for any real estate investors out there, this is a total game changer. A DSCR loan doesn't care one bit what your personal tax return says. It just asks a very simple question. Does the rent from this property cover the mortgage payment and all the other expenses? If the property's cash flow is positive, you can often get the loan. Your personal income becomes, well, kinda irrelevant.
And this really gets to the heart of it all. This isn't about finding some kind of loophole. It's about a fundamentally different way of thinking, a different philosophy of underwriting. The entire goal is to see your true financial reality, not just the simplified and often misleading version that shows up on a tax form. So how do they actually do it? Well, here's the process. First, they'll analyze your bank statements to see the real money coming in and going out, your actual cash flow. Then they'll look at your business revenue to check for consistency. From there, they're going to assess your assets and your equity position, your overall financial strength. And for investment properties, they'll even factor in the property's own potential to generate cash flow. It's a common sense approach based on your real financial health.
And what comes out of this way of thinking is just incredible flexibility. I mean, look at this. On some of these programs, there's no minimum FICO score requirement. And check out the range of loan amounts, from $50,000 all the way up to $7 million. But the most important point is that the whole emphasis shifts away from your tax return income and onto what really matters, your assets and your equity. Okay, so that's all the theory. But let's bring this back to what you can actually do with this information. How does this different approach actually unlock your real estate goals and put you back in the driver's seat?
This right here,
This is the payoff. This approach means you can actually buy a home without having to squeeze into that tiny conventional income box. It means you can refinance a property you already own to get better terms or pull cash out. You can tap into the equity you've built to go buy another property or even to expand your business. It just puts you back in control.
And look, this isn't some new, untested fad. This whole alternative lending space has been around for decades. The source material we looked at highlights firms that were started way back in 2003 specifically to solve these kinds of complex financing puzzles. The fact that this industry has made it through multiple recessions and economic cycles, well, that shows you just how necessary these solutions really are.
You know, when you boil it all down, that's what this is really about. It's about building a bridge that connects your true financial capability as a successful entrepreneur over to the other side, getting you past the limitations of a rigid, old-fashioned system that just wasn't built for people like you.
So we'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Is your tax return really telling your whole financial story? I think for most entrepreneurs, the answer to that is a pretty loud and clear no. And just knowing that, well, that's the first step to finding a financing solution that actually sees the full picture.